We're going to talk to Sally in Australia. Sally, what's going on?
Hi, I'm calling because I want to rant about charities, especially from the church.
Yeah, charities from the church. So Scott has a great, you have a great, you're not a sloganeer, but like you have a great
I didn't make that up.
You didn't make this one up, but I first encountered this in your book.
Slogan.
Yeah, I first encountered this in your book.
So somebody brought this to, I'll say it.
Yeah, go ahead.
So somebody brought this to New Orleans because there's a whole body of work around it. And then I just developed the theories in an anarchist perspective, but it's solidarity, not charity. Mm-hmm. And charity is saying that you have power over somebody and that you're just willing to help out and stop capitalism. And, like, hey, they're suffering, I'm going to help them. That's fine. That's great. That's the minimum. We need that, right? Because we want to alleviate suffering. But solidarity says, well, man, my life, my struggle is wrapped up in yours. And that if you do better, I do better also. And I'm willing to help you and your community to do better so we can all do better. And that's solidarity. Mm-hmm. And that can take all kinds of forms.
Yeah, for sure. But Sally, what did you want to talk about specifically in terms of charities?
Well, I think it's just an open conspiracy, especially with the Catholic Church. I mean, they're the morality police. If you don't qualify morally, you get nothing. And it's a way to keep people in under their control. And I find it a disgusting notion. I think assistance should come from governments who are non-political, non-partial and non-judgmental. Even a soup kitchen, you have to listen to a sermon before you get food. I mean, this is outrageous, and I can't believe it's accepted in polite society. I really don't.
You know what I say about those kind of church charities? Fuck them. I'm trying to be nice about it. Yeah. But I appreciate that they are doing the minimum that they can do. But you know what? Get in fucking line. There's a fucking 10,000 other people doing the same thing without fucking preaching the sermon. You know what I mean? And I'm not even atheism is not my thing. Like, I'm just saying, like, look, nobody should be held up for anything. And listen, there like religion, like anything, Catholicism, like anything, there's spectrums in it, right? And there's very small spectrums that are liberatory. In fact, the idea of liberatory came out of work, like not my work, because I was never a fucking Catholic, but with people who were liberatory Catholics. I can't remember what they call themselves. It's liberation theology. Mm-hmm. And so they were working with people in Central and South America through the 80s and the 90s, which I also worked with at various times and so that liberatory idea is some of the way I came into it, because they work in solidarity, not charity, but they're the fucking minority. I'm sorry, I keep cussing so much. Sorry. Yeah. They are the minority of the larger spectrum of Catholicism, which is largely whatever.
Yeah, no. It's
I don't have to say it.
One of the most uncomfortable times I remember in recent memory was when I was a Christian. I my girlfriend at the time did this homeless ministry that she volunteered at every weekend, and I was proud of her for taking her time out of her day to go and help other people, which is good. But I didn't actually go with her for that.
I don't want to diminish that because it is important.
Well, no.
Important.
Let me tell you what. Yeah. No. This is. I'm on your side here because I never went to it for most of the time, and one of the times I did go, I didn't realize they did this, right? But they gave a sermon before they gave food to people, and I'd always heard about that in my mind and stuff, and I guess I'd seen it before, but I just remember in that moment, just sitting in that room, just seeing a room full of hungry people who just don't care about what the person up there is saying. Like, they just want to eat. And it was almost dehumanizing in a way. It really was. I couldn't. Sure. I did not feel comfortable in that space at all. Yeah.
Can I show you a difference between the two, between charity and solidarity?
Yeah.
Charity is like the feeding of people to meet their basic needs and making them fucking listen to your ideology first. Mm-hmm. Well, guess what? Religions aren't the only ones that do that. Fucking communists do it. Party people fucking do it. Corporations do it. Like, fuck all of them.
The ACA, that's what we're doing too. Like, that's what we tell people.
But you're not, though, because you know what? I think if you were going to feed somebody, you would go out and you were like, feed them because it mattered, not because it was promoting your call-in show or because it was promoting your fucking viewpoint. That's the way I see anarchy. Listen, I'm not like when I engage in these things, and when I have engaged in these things, it's not to fucking prove anything or to make somebody come around to some idea. It's because I want the best for them as long as they're going to minimize harm to themselves and try to engage in it, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think the government's, I want to say that this is what I was going to say. I'm sorry about the Australia person, because I appreciate you calling, and I know it's far away for you. It's late. So you had mentioned, this is what I wanted to say earlier, is that governments are more benign or neutral. That depends on the country you're in. And bureaucracy runs through every corporation and every government and makes them ineffectual and inhumane at all levels, always. And that's not even my fucking opinion about it. It's the truth about it. And so there is no benignness to it, because in the programs they choose to focus on, the things that they do, there's a whole list that they get through that most of us would fall out of and never be able to get through that list to get to those charity things that government might have. That said, I want governments to fall, but not like it's falling now, and I don't know what that looks like. So I'm just being honest, okay?
There you go. Sally, did you have any more to say to that?
Not particularly. Okay. I think Scott covered it all. But yeah, it's just, I find that charities have an agenda. I find the whole notion disgusting that, you know, people have to beg to organisations to get help that should be granted. And while governments aren't perfect either, I think we've got a better chance.
We're in two different countries. We're in two far different countries.
The thing is, though, we can vote in governments. We can't vote in churches. We can't vote them out. And if they're holding all the purse strings, what hope have you got unless you're, approved by these holier-than-thou assholes? And I cannot abide it. I just find it intolerable that these charities exist. In Australia, we had one organisation donate $1 million to fight the same-sex marriage plebiscite. This is outrageous behaviour. Absolutely outrageous.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like, we shouldn't rely purely on charities to do the quote-unquote dirty work of picking up what, helping out our fellow man. I've always kind of been disagreed with that, but Scott disagreed with you like right out the bat about something. I want to see what your take was there.
We cannot vote our way out of this. I don't care what country you're in. We're never going to vote our way out. You're never going to vote. We're never going to vote our way to liberation. I'm not even trying to debate anybody about it.
Yeah,
it never happened.
Why do you say that?
The Civil Rights Act, like, for example, is not liberation. It just said you can own some property and you can vote within a white system largely, but it didn't create liberation for black people. So now here we are 50 years later and people are like, man, we're sick of this shit. The police are still killing us. Our children are still going to prisons and we still have no economic recovery. Our communities dropped crack into our communities in the 90s and, in the 80s, 90s and 2000s. There's a myriad of things that have still happened that are not even close to freedom. And so,
I agree with you. But
you cannot vote your way out of it. And again, I'm not debating you about it because voting is like recycling. It's the minimum you can do. If you're not going to fucking do anything else because you're so lazy to do anything else, or you believe that that's the thing that's going to make change, you should do it. And I don't mean that dismissively. I totally mean that. People hate me in Anarchy because I say that. They're like, that's so US of you. But I'm like, I live in a country of 300 million people. Everybody's not going to get on board with Anarchy, and I'm okay with that. But so some people are going to have to vote their shit out.
Yeah, Sally, I want to give you one more chance to say something here, and then we'll go ahead and go to the next caller.
And I'm not arguing with you, Sally, because you're awesome.
Yes. Well, thank you. No, it's been a great pleasure.
Thank you.
Well, Sally, thanks for calling in. Really appreciate it.